Watch us on TV on our sponsor, Mohawk Valley Living TV show and magazine. Check your local listings. Welcome to this episode of On the Couch with Gavin. Today's guest is Genesee Joe. How's it going, Joe?
Good. How you doing, Gavin? Thank you for having me, man.
No problem. So, Genesee Joe, that's a unique name. Is it related to Genesee Street by any chance?
Well, you know, it's funny, but I've been in radio for 24 years now, and early in my career, I would work the overnight shift and then stay and work with the morning show till like 9 o'clock. And one day, it was Groundhog Day, and they needed me to put on it turned out to be a squirrel costume because there wasn't a groundhog costume, and come out of an electrical manhole to see if I saw my shadow. And Peter Hirsch was the guy, it was Hirsch and Nelson. Pete gave me the nickname Genesee Joe, and like 22 years later, here it is. It's still there. It like automatically stuck, and that's what I kept. Nice. So, yeah, so it's basically Genesee Street.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, so you've been doing radio for a long time.
I have.
Right now you're at 92.7 The Drive.
Yep. It's 3 to 7 in the afternoon, Monday through Saturday.
Awesome.
But it's been interesting. It's fun, you know.
That's great. And so what, you said you worked at another station for a long time?
Yeah, I was down the dial. Actually, all of us were. Tom Starr and Jerry Krause and myself, Allison, Carey, Dave Phoenix, Brett. At one point, we were all down the dial, or up the dial at 96.9. But little by little, that got sold to different corporations. And, you know, nice. We all ended up back together at 92.7.
Gang's back together again.
Exactly, the gang is back
That's
together
cool.
again.
Yeah, the thing's kind of like familiar then, I bet, that way.
Yeah,
and kind of
well, you know,
good.
Tom started back at 92.7, and he brought Dave along, and then Jerry started doing his Sunday morning show, The Recovery Room, and then I finally came on about a year or two after that. And then, you know, we had a lady named Allison that was with us that isn't with us anymore. So we needed another girl, and I said, well, what about Carrie? She used to work with us before. She knows what to do, and she knows the music. So we brought Carrie in, and we needed another guy, and Brett was another guy I knew from the business that we had worked with back in the day. So yeah, it was all very familial.
I used to work with Brett too.
You know, Brett, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. Yep.
That's awesome.
And you know, it's funny too, because Tom, like, if people think about, great radio, Tom Starr is the guy who put that together. Originally back in the 70s. He was the boss down at the old station, and he's the one that really invented that, put the whole thing into play and made it what it was. So now we're all further up or further down the dial at 92.7.
Oh, nice. So what did you invent, like a talk show format type thing, or like?
Well, I do have guests on, and we have guests on in the morning, but I'm more music intensive. You know, our thing is we play more songs per hour. And you know how people listen to the radio and they go, you hear the same 5 songs by each band?
Right.
We're the station that really tries to not do that.
Nice.
You know what I mean? We try and play, because you know, the people that listen to The Drive have been listening to us for years, and we're all from the album generation. Which guys like you are getting back into the vinyl now. You're starting to actually get the big cover and you can see all the information. Yeah. So, you know, our people know the songs, you know what I mean? Now, you can't go crazy. You can't, you know, get too obscure, but there's a lot of room that it took a while to get people used to listening to it again. But, you know, it's fun.
That's awesome.
I hope. Thank you. I hope it stays that way because I don't want to do anything else.
Right.
I'm very into the local music scene.
Right.
And we've got a good one. From original bands to cover bands. But people really need to go out and see more live music, I think.
Right, yeah. And there's actually like a decent amount of venues and concerts happening in the area too.
Yeah, so.
Which is a good segue into on the Drive website.
Yeah, we have the live and local page, and either, you know, people could submit it, but it's one of those web page forms. And so sometimes it can be hard to deal with, you know what I mean? Well, people can email me, Genesee Joe at 927thedrive.net. They can call in the station and leave them, or send me them on Facebook. People can find me on Facebook. But it's a free club listing, and it's there so that we can let people know where live music is, where live local bands are. And, you know, from the original bands we got, whether it's Falling from One or Enemy Down, After Earth, Wicked, incidentally a great band. There's a lot of them, well more than that, to cover bands that play like the big popular favorites, the Showtimes and the Gridley Pages and the Classifieds, to, some of the other bands like China Pig, Bad Dog. The band I'm in is a band called Thunderwat, where we do more of the album cuts.
Nice.
There's a huge, and there's solo guys, and there's great country bands around here.
Right.
I'm not big on modern country, but Grit and Grace, excellent band. Fulton Chain Gang, Lonesome Dove. There's a lot of them. Right. There's a lot of talent
and
around
folk,
here.
Like the Old Main. And
oh my God!
Like that.
Then you get into the Americana stuff.
Right.
The Old Main. those guys are so cool.
Yep.
There's I almost said the Birdseed Bandits. The old
Main.
You
have to think about it. Yeah.
But Above the Dam and the Remsen Social Club,
right.
and there's just a huge. Talent pool and a diverse talent pool around here, and each one is as important as the other. Some guys they say, well, I don't like original bands because I don't know the songs. Well, hang out for a little while.
Right.
And everybody's doing CDs now and has stuff online, but like a cover band like ours, it does maybe a suite of Pink Floyd music or the Animals record or some more obscure Hendrix tunes or something like that is good to be out there. And then you get the bands that play the big hits, like my buddies in Simple Props, and it's good to have them there. Like it's a full service music community, but I think people need to go and see it more.
Right. Yeah. And so on the website, it's the bands can go to sign up.
They can go right to it. It's the Live and Local page at 927thedrive.net, which is .net. It confuses people sometimes. Everybody wants to go .com. And it says submit your information, and they come to me. And I get a lot of them. Yeah. I mean, my stuff for Halloween is, there's got to be 20 different shows on there.
Nice. And then it's also too where community people can go and see when the shows
when
are
things
happening.
And it's also the community stuff. So there's stuff like, veterans clubs are having a fish fry, or nice. Some group is having their garage sale to raise money or fundraiser. So it's all there. It's not just the music and stuff like that.
Right.
But
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Half and half, maybe.
Half and yeah. Well, maybe 2/3 and a third. It's mainly all bands, but
Cool.
And a real big. We've got such a great arts community around here. There's artists, there's musicians, there's all kinds of stuff. The Players of Utica. There's a lot of stuff here for people to do, and as a community this size, we've got a big chunk of it is arts based, and from Munson Williams down to the Four Elements Gallery.
Right.
These are all things that people should take part of. Yeah.
So being in radio for this long, I'm sure you've done a lot of community things. What are some of your favorite community things that you've been involved in?
Wow, there have been a lot. I mean, everything from hosting benefits. I've got one coming up November 19th. A guy who was part of the local music community had a stroke, and we're raising money for him. To, just some of the big events we used to put on, like the fireworks shows up at Vernon Downs, or the fireworks shows at Proctor Park, where we put bands together for them a couple of years back. And even stuff that, way back when the base closed down and there was all those people lining the streets as the people from the Air Force brass was driving through Rome to go to the base to make the final decision and the announcement. And we were there when all these people were just out on the streets with signs that said, don't close the base, keep the base open. Wow. And unfortunately it didn't work, but Rome has really built themselves back up after that. But, events at the Stanley, events at the auditorium, just,
True. Yeah.
I've been in radio so long, about 5 different hockey teams. We finally got a really good one,
Yeah, one that stuck around.
Yeah, but.
So you mentioned that you were in a band?
Yeah.
Well, what's the band called?
The band is called Thunderwat.
Okay.
And it's kind of a play on words, but we're not going to get into it. But, before that, I was actually in a band called Slug for about 14 years. And we were on the jam band scene. We played around a lot. We played a lot of places all over the place. And I've been in a few other ones. But this one, we started after three of us left Slug. 2 of us started this band, me and Bob Moore, the drummer. And we wanted to do something different because Slug actually was going across the country and we just couldn't go. You know what I mean? So it was like, so they were, still our great friends. So we said, well, let's start something completely different. And it took us some time, but we found, speaking of Americana bands, we found Jim Inman from Strung Sideways.
Okay.
And Jim Chase was another friend of ours that we had played with. He was in a band called Grandpa Thrasher. And this started out as the four of us. And at first, Jim Inman didn't want to play electric again. And I was like, come on. He said, well, I'll get back to you. And he got back to me and he said, you know what? He goes, I fixed my rig. He says, we'll try it. And we just started out, and we do everything from, you know, upcoming Halloween show. We're going to do a set of Black Sabbath, a set of Pink Floyd, and a mix set. But we do everything from, you know, Merle Haggard and Willie Nelson to, you know, Led Zeppelin. I mean, it's kind of like the band Government Mule. You know who they are?
I heard of them, yeah.
Okay, they were in Utica this summer. They've been here a few times. The initial idea was to do something different, do something a little more rocky, and, you know, get together, play some songs just to see what it sounds like, and then figure out what songs will fit into that. And the funny thing is, at the second rehearsal, which was actually the first rehearsal with Jim Chase, me and Jim In were standing there just talking in between songs. He goes, how about Charlie Daniels Band? I said, that's cool.
Yeah, they're good.
And we looked at each other and said, Trudy? Which is a very deep cut from one of their records, but it was like somehow this moment happened where we were both thinking about this really obscure song, and it was immediate. They were like, wow, we definitely have something here. We definitely have a project.
Nice.
And and so that's where it came from. We like to say that we can do whatever we want.
That's awesome.
And we do that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. So do you do, what do you play in the band?
I'm a harmonica player, and I'm like the third singer.
Cool.
You know, all five of us sing, but I'm like the third guy.
Awesome.
I like to say that when it comes to talent, I'm the second guy, but there's a four-way tie for first. So you know.
Oh no.
Yeah. But no, these guys have all like Bob Merrick. Eventually, the other guy from Strung Sideways, eventually joined us about a year into it. So now we're a five-piece band, and you know, Jim and Bob have played with each other for 20 years in many different bands, going all the way back to, well, groups you probably wouldn't remember, but Firestorm and Binge, and they just know each other. They know where they're going. They know what the other guy's going to do before he does it, kind of thing. They're like brothers.
Right.
And, you know, between Bob, the drummer, and the other Jim, the bass player, they just really locked in, you know, really quickly. And so it's kind of a neat little thing. A lot of songs that have keyboards, we don't have a keyboard player. So I'll play like a harmonica part, or we'll do some Lynyrd Skynyrd songs where they had three guitars and a keyboard, so there's plenty of room for the harmonica. So we try and work it in like that.
Yeah. Sounds like a good team. Like sounds like the story of 92.7. Like
it all kind of gelled real quick. You know, the funny thing is, one thing we did do is we decided we were going to do the Pink Floyd Animals record, which is a cool album, but there's only 5 songs on it, but they're
like 10-minute long.
Well, a minute and a half, a 9.5, a 12.5, and a 17, and then another minute and a half. But like with that, because Jim Inman has Shack 9 Studios, which is a great recording studio, which
in Utica?
It's up in Holland Patton.
Oh, okay, nice.
But there's a lot of good recording studios here. But Jim's does really good work. He just had a band called High Desert Sky in there. That record sounds like it's ready for the radio and a world tour. I mean, it's that good.
Awesome.
But anyways, the Pink Floyd record Animals had some keyboard parts that we couldn't work around. So he recorded those, and we have just an iPad. And it's a program that I can just trigger these samples. And then, you know, that song has a song called Dogs, where there's dogs barking, there's animal sounds, and like the song called Pigs and Sheep. And it's funny because with today's political climate, this album from 1977 is like more, it relates more now than it did then. But so, like, you know, it's neat. The technology kind of allows us to really do the whole thing. You know, the 2 little keyboard parts we needed, we've got, but the sound effects, you know, everything works. And we do stuff off the wall, and we use that, and Dark Side of the Moon, and we use that. So it's kind of a neat band. We're a real cool band.
Awesome.
And we're on Facebook.
Nice.
Thunderwat.
Nice.
Boy, you know, it's funny, but we talked, you went to Herkimer, and I went to Herkimer.
Yeah.
Now you do wedding videos.
Yeah, in corporate stuff and
In corporate
videos.
stuff,
Yeah.
But I grew up in a bridal shop. So I have empathy for you
Right.
dealing with brides. I know exactly what you deal with.
Nice.
But yeah, my parents had my father and his sisters actually had a bridal shop that was downtown for like 50 years. The building's gone now. It's where the central hub is. But
Yeah, a lot of
it's
dresses.
interesting. Yeah, a lot of people ready for their wedding are a little, what's the term, bridezilla?
Yeah, stressed
You
out.
deal with that ever?
Actually, I've been lucky to not have that at all. And if they end up feeling stressed about something happening that day, like I try and be like, hey, at least it's not like a worst case scenario. Or
It
like
could be
something
this. It could, yeah. Well, that's
try and
cool,
make it
man.
feel better. So,
I feel like I should be laying down on the couch.
Right, do a therapy session,
Yeah, it's a
take
therapy session.
well, yeah, where can everyone find you?
People can find me on Facebook because I'm over 40, so we're all on Facebook. I'm not on Snapchat or Instagram because there's no reason for anybody under 40
Right.
to be on that.
Yeah.
If they're there, they're on a registry somewhere else. But they can find me on Twitter and of course 927thedrive.net.
Cool.
And if they just look up Genesee Joe or Joe Trizzolino,
Yeah. Monday through Saturdays.
Monday through Saturdays,
3 to
7. And
on the drive.
yeah, 92.7 FM The Drive. So, and you're welcome to come up someday and we'll promote this.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that sounds awesome.
All right, thanks a lot, dude.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I'm so used to being the one that runs the interview. I'm sorry. Well, you can go now, and
All good. Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, but it's about time. Roles reversed, right?
that's it. That's it.
Cool. Thank you guys for watching this episode of On the Couch. Tune in for a new episode every single Tuesday, and subscribe to the YouTube page for the full interview. Thanks, guys. See you next time.